I have Niharika Mathema as my guest today. She is an architect, a placemaker, and an urban rejuvenator. She recently completed her MSc on the Department of Architecture and Urban Planning on Sustainable Social Development with her thesis research on sustainable placemaking in Kathmandu. She is also the founder of Placemaking Nepal, which is a self organized collective of placemakers dedicated to creating meaningful places for memorable experiences. In this episode, she shared her observations, experience, and aspirations about placemaking in Nepal, particularly her hometown Kathmandu. Her clarity about her work goals is really inspiring indeed. Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. I am Asban Sari, the founder of the organization Peacemakers Pakistani, and I am bringing you the stories of placemakers, artists, and professionals from around the globe about how they created an impact and made change happen. You are listening to the Making It Happen show. Thank you for joining in. Enjoy the episode.
Hi, Azba.
Hi Niharika, how are you?
I am doing good, very good, in fact. How are you?
I'm Tell me about everything. Tell me about how are you and where you are right now and how has been the pandemic year and everything for you.
I am good. I'm doing good. I am currently in Kathmandu. Kathmandu, the weather here is quite pleasant. It's officially spring now, but the mornings and evenings are still chillier, but everything is under control. During the pandemic, also, I was in my hometown, that is Kathmandu. And it was quite a tough time during the pandemic, but now everything's under control. The cases have, got down, and everything's going good here. So, how are you, and what's the situation like in Lahore?
The weather is, yeah, the spring is just around the corner, I guess, and I would say that because I do feel a bit cold. So
Oh,
yeah, it's like that over here, and yeah, these are just some busy days for me personally. So
mm,
about the COVID, yeah, it's in control over here as well. It's quite easy here. We had a dengue situation also during the COVID, um, lately in autumn, around autumn and in winters as well. The dengue cases were very high. Besides COVID, like COVID was more rare, and dengue was more. There were more cases about the dengue. So yeah, it's like the storm has passed finally. Now we can say that. Hoping for best in future. Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to have a talk with you.
That's my pleasure. I'm really honored and really glad to have this conversation with you as well.
Great. Great. Okay. So shall we start with the questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So Niharika, tell me about how did you find your passion for public spaces and the placemaking movement?
Um, I love walking. So I remember when I was a kid, I always used to take the long routes back home, just looking around and observing minute details, like the color of the buildings, noticing a random temple in every neighborhood, and, the mural in the walls, or just observing how people interact with spaces and move around. But that time I did not realize, but I was actually developing an interest for public spaces and placemaking. Then, during my bachelor's in architecture, one subject that really struck me was called design theory, where I studied how urban landscapes are not just about, are more than just spatial. So I realized the actual difference between spaces and places. And I realized that spaces only come into being after it is activated by the presence of people. And a place is basically a humanized space. And the whole idea of transforming spaces into places which is what placemaking is about, I found that quite intriguing and very fascinating. So I gradually started to, consume more ideas about the placemaking movement. I realized that public spaces actually determine our everyday experiences in the city, and therefore even more important than buildings are the spaces in between the buildings. And that's how I developed my passion for, public spaces, quality public spaces, and the placemaking movement.
All right, great. Yeah, this is definitely something that I have come to realize after being into architecture and after being on the sites and like moving around in the city. And yeah, the even the realization is something that was a blessing for me as well, because I get to know more myself more through all of this, that what I like and what I aspire to be while being in Lahore and while being in the city or anywhere else. Okay, I have seen the pictures of Kathmandu and I really love it. Like the heritage culture, it's
Yeah.
very vast in its identity. So I would love to know that any place attachment story you want to share with us with about the place where you live. That would be great.
So yeah, I have lived all my life in Kathmandu. It is also the capital of Nepal. And as you said, Kathmandu is a very warm, welcoming, beautiful city. It is full of historic sites, ancient monuments and temples, exquisite Newari architecture, and some really fascinating and enticing alleyways. So Kathmandu basically has a very unique urban historical culture, which is represented by a coherent synthesis of people and places. I remember feeling home with Kathmandu after I returned from almost a month long trip. So I really have a very emotional attachment and intimate association with Kathmandu. Having said that, the Kathmandu, which I knew as a kid, is no longer the same due to rapid urbanization. The specter of modernity has quite affected Kathmandu. But no matter how much I get annoyed by the heavy traffic, the crowded streets, or the pollution, Kathmandu will always remain home for me. So yeah, I have a very intimate association with Kathmandu.
Awesome. Okay, so I read that you want to enrich people's experience of places. So tell me, what is your vision about it?
So I'm also an architect. And architecture, I think, is a term so common and yet so vague. So for many people, architecture is about just constructing buildings. It's about four walls and a roof, or simply bricks and mortar. But to me, there's so much more to it. Architecture is about creating memories, stories, and experiences. And that is what placemaking is also. So it is about enriching people's experiences in city life, for their well-being. So I think placemaking can be an innovative approach, a creative approach to enrich people's everyday city experiences by recognizing the value of the unique character of a place, of the built environment, and tapping into the assets and strengths of the local community. So, my vision ultimately is to create meaningful places for people where they can spend time, not because they have to, but because they love to or because they want to. So places where people like to meet, to socialize, to play, or simply to people watch. So basically, the ultimate aim is, let's put it this way, to transform livable spaces into lovable places. So that's the ultimate vision of enriching people's experiences of places.
Awesome. Okay, I wish you all the best, and I hope that you succeed in your dream and your vision about your places, because I would love to see that happening. And definitely,
Thank you
this
so
is
much.
something we all should aspire to have in our cities, in our country, and in the world overall. Okay, so how are you focused on creating social impact through public spaces? What has been your inspiration and your aspiration for the future as well?
I always say this that I strive to leave a positive impact on people's life. I strive to create a positive social impact. And for me, that can be done through public spaces because I feel these spaces are the reflections of our society and its culture. These are spaces that define the character of a city and also shape our identity. So, as a placemaker, I constantly strive to create quality places, planning equitable places that are responsive to community needs and aspirations, which will ultimately lead to an improved quality of life for the people. And I believe for this, it is particularly important not just to pay attention to the physical aspect, but also the intangible aspect, like the sociocultural identity, which shapes a public space and supports its ongoing evolution. So I aspire to actually nurture an authentic sense of place by capitalizing on the local community assets. And I wish to affect people's lives in positive ways and improve their social experiences in the city. So that is what I aspire for and work for.
Yes, and this can be achieved through public spaces, and I look forward to how you do that and how I do that as well. So we learn together as well. Okay, what are the challenges and opportunities you find about public spaces in Nepal or in Kathmandu, especially?
Um, the urban environments in Nepal are changing quite rapidly, due to high urbanization. And Kathmandu is, in fact, one of the fastest growing cities in South Asia. So the contemporary urban trends today have somewhat weakened our sense of place. So we have aggressively embraced the car-centric planning approach, and people and places have been shunted, have been pushed aside. The challenge is that the friendly and welcoming, the inviting quality of public spaces in Nepal, particularly Kathmandu, has disappeared, and there is a severe shortage of public spaces, of open public spaces in Kathmandu for city dwellers to meet, socialize, and interact with each other, or just have a good time, as well as for children to play and hang out. And this has somewhat negatively impacted and affected the quality of life of the people. And additionally, in a disaster-prone nation like Nepal, public spaces not only mean, for recreation, for social gatherings, or for providing fresh air. It also means saving lives in times of emergency. In times of crisis, the public spaces here get transformed uh, with multiple layers of functions. So these are some of the challenges in public spaces here. But on the brighter side, there are some great public spaces. For example, the Darbar squares, which reflect our cultural identity. So these are the places we can learn from. In the past, the open spaces were an integral part of our traditional settlements. The city was more active, more humane, and healthier. So I call it organic placemaking, which was actually born out of everyday city needs and of human scale decisions, while also leaving room for changes and development and new growth. If we can take these valuable lessons from the past, I think we can move forward towards creating better spaces for people. So, yeah.
Yeah, right. This is it was so direct, and yes, I can relate to certain things, and definitely this is how it's going to happen. Okay, what are the challenges that you have faced on a personal level due to patriarchy? Share if you want to.
Patriarchy. I think patriarchy is still a prevailing problem, especially in a developing South Asian country like ours, where there are preconceived notions, preconceived differences between gender roles. And these gender roles, I believe, are the main players, the main factors in a patriarchal setup. However, on a personal level, I think I have been fortunate enough that I have not faced any challenges or hardships as such due to patriarchy. So my environment at home is highly educated. So my capacity to develop my abilities or to pursue my education or professional career, or to make choices about my life and life plans, for that matter, has never been limited. In fact, my grandfather and father, they have been my biggest supporters, my biggest cheerleaders, always encouraging me to push my limits and boundaries. So I have not faced any such challenges due to these preconceived gender roles or gender stereotypes on a personal level at such. However, I am aware that patriarchy is definitely an issue, and that we should campaign about and work to change, while also respecting those who are comfortable with these traditional gender roles. So this is something we should talk about, we should campaign for, definitely.
Yes, definitely. And I'm glad to know that you had a good environment around and you were able to develop in such a way that you are now able to raise awareness for others and be there for others
Mhm.
as well. So yeah, that's
Exactly.
awesome. Okay, so finally, tell me about the Kathmandu Valley and the placemaking initiative there. What are you all guys up to?
As I've mentioned earlier, Kathmandu is a very small, beautiful city, very rich in diversity. It is also one of the fastest growing cities in South Asia, as I've mentioned earlier. I think Kathmandu is a mix of old and new, slow and the fast. However, the specter of modernity, rapid urbanization, the technological advances, lifestyle modifications, and the growth of human societies is, however, leading to a sense of placelessness here, where places do not convey meanings to people. And the importance of quality public spaces in a fast growing and diverse city like Kathmandu cannot be overstated. So, Placemaking Nepal is basically focused to raise awareness and amplify the placemaking movement, so that people can get a comprehensive understanding of what the true essence of placemaking is, and how to effectively incorporate this concept into the planning and practice of public spaces. And this can be a very promising way to deal with all these ongoing urban transformations in Kathmandu. So that is what Placemaking Nepal is focused at the moment, to amplify the movement and sort of raise awareness about quality public spaces.
Right, very right. I really want to visit Kathmandu someday because I love
Yeah, definitely. You must
yeah.
come here. Yeah.
I love heritage and cultural places, and while seeing buildings that you have shared on your social media, I just felt that we share somewhat same architecture because of the Asian architecture and the Sikh.
Hmm.
We have Sikh buildings from the Sikh period in our city as well. So we were able to relate to them. We have so many in Peshawar and in some in Wall City as well. So yeah, it was something very I could just feel a little bit of connection, soul connection to it. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, something I want to ask you is what is your dream about a better world? What does a better world look like to you, and what bothers you about it?
This is the answer to this can be quite complex. I mean, there are multiple factors which I think a better world needs. But simply put, my vision or my dream of a better world is that it is a happy place for everyone to live in, irrespective of their age, their gender, their ethnicities and religion, or their economic backgrounds. I mean, sustainable, just, and vibrant cities which offer the best living experiences to the people uh, is eventually every placemaker's dream, right? So a world that works for everyone, for all, is a better world to me. Talking about the factors which I am concerned about today are the negative factors which adversely affect, people's ability to live well. For example, social fragmentation, inequality, and gender issues, wars and conflict, lack of access to basic resources. All these factors really concern me. And I think by focusing on public spaces, on people's well being, and providing them a very dynamic and rich sensory experience in their city or in their public spaces, can somewhat contribute, to create a better world for people. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And if people like you, the educated ones and the ones who are raised with love, if they just spread, they intend to spread their love with others, I guess the world could be a better place. Definitely, inshallah. Okay, so now let's get on to the question that I ask everyone. And yeah, okay, so tell me what drives you, what keeps you focused on public spaces and the community, people and spaces.
Okay, this is also an interesting question, Asba. What drives me? So I really think that our experience of a city depends fundamentally on the quality of its public spaces. I mean, these are the living rooms of the city where our social life, our public life unfolds. So public spaces are not just, nice to have thing, but it is a basic need, a necessity for the city dwellers. But today it is more about, the cars, the shopping malls, the tower-like high-rise buildings, the business parks, and the gray and hard surfaces. And we Kathmandutis need something more to do just beyond, shopping and watching movies. We need quality places where we simply like to be, to enjoy, and to socialize. So this longing of quality public spaces where I can find peace, where I can just hang around and socialize and meet people, this longing actually gives me that energy boost, that dose of inspiration to keep moving towards creating, towards making places. So this is what drives me and keeps me focused on public spaces, I guess.
All right. And share your proudest moment of your work life, like the day you felt proud about whatever you are doing.
Um, Let me think. Placemaking Nepal is a budding, movement, and we have just started out towards creating meaningful places here. But I'm really glad and I'm really happy to be leading the placemaking conversation here in Nepal and strengthening the momentum of this movement by evoking and amplifying place stories of Nepal. But it's a good feeling when I'm able to make people understand and realize the importance of quality public spaces, the value of meaningful experiences, and sensitize them about public space issues and challenges here, and make the placemaking movement more visible and more impactful. So they say awareness is empowering. So in a way, raising awareness and empowering people on public spaces is what I feel proud of. But as I've mentioned, the journey has just begun and there's a long way to go and a lot of work to do. So, yeah.
Yes, and by the way, the first step is always the hardest. You have taken that. So yes, this is something we to be proud of, and we are looking forward to learn more from you. Definitely. Okay, tell me, share any hardest moment of your work life, and it definitely doesn't have to be just about placemaking Nepal because you just started. Anything before you happen to face before and you learn from it something that is going to help you in future as well, anything that we can learn from you as well.
The hardest moment of my work life. So, Asba, as you just mentioned, that taking that first step is always the most difficult and challenging part. So, I always wanted to lead something, I did not just wanted to follow what others were doing. I wanted to do something on my own. So, taking that initial step was definitely it's something that was quite challenging to me. And I think at one point of time, I was a one-person team. Like literally, there was only me working, managing resources, trying to build up a core team to do my work or continue what I love the most. So finding people who share the same passion and vision like me, that was quite hard to actually be a one-person team, chugging away and keeping myself always motivated and keeping myself moving towards achieving the goal. So I think that was a challenging moment to, initiate something new and keep me focused to move forward. So, yeah.
Great, and you did it. Awesome. Okay, Share any placemaking mantra or any quote about placemaking you love.
Placemaking quotes, there are actually many, but the one which I relate to, I associate with the most is by Fred Kent. So it says, placemaking is about turning a place, from somewhere you can't wait to go through to somewhere you never want to leave. So that is one quote I really love about placemaking. And personally, my placemaking mantra is to always focus on the three C's, I call it. It's creativity, culture, and community. I think which also gives you the true essence, the zest, the main substance, the main idea of what placemaking is all about. So by culture, I mean, celebrating the uniqueness, the distinct character and authenticity of a place, and strengthening people place bond. And for any placemaking project, I think it should be community driven. It should be a bottom up, purpose based approach, which also kind of leads to a sense of ownership among people. And this feeling of ownership is very crucial, is very important to ensure that the placemaking projects are sustainable and successful. And with that dash of creativity, being experimental and thinking outside the box always helps to provide a rich and dynamic sensory experience to public space users. So my placemaking mantra is always to focus and effectively incorporate the three C's, as I mentioned: creativity, culture, and community. Yeah.
Very nice, very thoughtful, and definitely this is great. Okay. Do you have any opinion to share about Pakistan or placemaking in Pakistan?
Pakistan is a very beautiful country. I'd also love to visit the country someday. Uh, like Nepal, I think Pakistan is also very rich in diversity and dense. And the challenges and opportunities in public spaces are also quite similar in both of our contexts. And the work that you have been doing with placemaking in Pakistan, raising awareness, amplifying about the placemaking movement, empowering communities about the underlying social issues for their well-being is commendable, and I look forward to collaborating with you in the future on placemaking projects and developing strategies, placemaking strategies and tools specially focused on the Asian context. So yeah, the work you have been doing is quite amazing.
Thank you so much for your appreciation, and yes, you are always welcome here. Let me know whenever you're coming. I would love to host you over here.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah. Any message for the global leaders out there? Because many
um,
youngsters are joining in.
Uh, I really think that placemaking is an antidote to many of the urban problems today. And I also really believe that we all are placemakers in some way, intentionally or unintentionally. So there's a placemaker in each one of us. We are everywhere and we are everyone. So my message to, in fact, global, not just to global leaders, but to aspiring placemakers would be that they need to understand that placemaking is a dynamic, continuous social process which is never finished. So it is constantly changing and evolving. So to new placemakers who are joining in, always continue learning and keep yourself open to new experiences. And most importantly, never be afraid to take that initial step, to take that plunge and think outside the box and experiment. So that's what I'd like to put out there to placemakers that are joining in.
Awesome. It was such a lovely talk. I just love how you have the answer for all the questions, so brief, so concise, and yet so meaningful and thoughtful. And thank you so much for sharing your insights and your aspirations with us. I'm just glad to have the opportunity to talk to you. Thank you so much, Niharika, for this interview.
Thank you. Thank you, Azba, for having me. And you are doing an amazing work with Peacemakers Pakistani, and all my best wishes to you for your future endeavors. And I really hope that we get to meet in person someday real soon.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, inshallah, we will. Thank you so much. Have a great day and have best of luck for your all the plans and all the dreams about placemaking in Nepal, Kathmandu,
Thank you.
and all the best wishes with you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Take
you as
care.
well.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Take care.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.